Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're talking about Node.js, the tech that took JavaScript, the language of the browser, and turned it into the engine that powers a huge chunk of the modern internet. So how did that happen? Let's dive in.
It sounds pretty unlikely, doesn't it? I mean, it's true. The very same language, JavaScript, that got its start making things pop up on websites is now mission critical for some of the most intense applications on Earth, and even off of it.
And we're not talking about small-time stuff. We're talking about global giants. Think about Netflix, PayPal, Uber, LinkedIn. These are companies that are serving hundreds of millions of people every single day, and they're all relying on Node.js to make it happen.
Yeah, so this is not some flashy new toy for startups. Node.js is a mature, battle-tested technology. It's become a cornerstone for big business. The real question is, what exactly makes it so special?
All right, so the secret sauce behind Node.js, the thing that really changed the game, is a totally different way of thinking about how servers handle requests. It all comes down to something called non-blocking I/O. So imagine a traditional server is like a single cashier at a fast food joint. They take your order, then they walk back, cook your burger, bring it to you, and only then do they even say hello to the next person in line. If you order something complicated, well, that whole line just has to stand there and wait. In the programming world, that waiting is called blocking. The whole process is stuck, just waiting for one slow thing to finish, like getting data from a database. And this exact bottleneck, this incredible waste of time, is what drove developers like Node.js creator Ryan Dahl nuts. So Node.js completely flipped the model. It's more like a super efficient cashier who takes everyone's order first, hands them all to the kitchen, and then just calls your name when your food is ready. While the kitchen is cooking, the cashier is already helping other customers. That's the non-blocking approach. It uses something called a callback, which is just a fancy way of saying, hey, run this function for me after you're done with that slow task. And this table right here, this shows you why that change is just so revolutionary. I mean, look at this. If we pretend a super fast CPU task takes 25 seconds, then a relatively normal I/O task, like a network request, is like waiting almost 6 days. The difference in speed is just astronomical. Forcing your super fast CPU to just sit and wait for I/O to finish is an unbelievable waste of power. Okay, so how does Node.js actually pull this off? How does it juggle all those orders without getting confused? Well, this whole non-blocking dance is choreographed by a beautiful piece of machinery called the event loop. If you peek under the hood, the Node.js architecture has a few really important parts. You've got your JavaScript code, which runs on the super fast V8 engine. That's the same engine that powers Google Chrome. And then you have this powerful system underneath that handles all the slow work. And right at the heart of that system is the event loop. The best way to think about it is like an air traffic controller for your code. It's in a constant loop, always asking questions. Hey, is there any new work for me? Has that file finished reading it? Did we get a response from that other server? And you know, this loop isn't just one big, simple circle. It's actually a highly structured process with very specific phases. It's like it has a checklist that it runs through on every single turn. First, check timers. Next, check for completed I/O. Then handle these other special jobs. This strict order is what makes sure everything runs predictably, even when a million things are happening at the same time. So here is the really crucial point. You'll often hear that Node.js is single-threaded, but that's really only half the picture. Your actual JavaScript code, yes, that runs on one main thread. But behind the scenes, Node.js cleverly uses a whole pool of other threads for the heavy lifting, things like reading files or doing complex math, to make sure that main thread is never, ever blocked. Now, this whole architecture, it's not just a cool theory. It translates into massive, real-world performance boosts for some of the biggest websites you use every day. Take LinkedIn. When they switched their mobile backend system from another technology, Ruby on Rails, over to Node.js, they saw a mind-blowing improvement. Their new app was up to 20 times faster, running on the exact same hardware. One of the head engineers there at the time said, Node.js was the perfect glue. It was the ideal fit to connect their mobile app on the front end with all their data on the back end, mainly because of its event-driven style.
And PayPal's story is just as amazing. By deciding to use JavaScript for everything, both on the server and in the browser, their teams were able to build things twice as fast. And they did it with a third less code and 40% fewer files. Just incredible efficiency gains. And that stuff isn't just about making developers happy. Shaving 200 milliseconds off their page load time is a massive deal for a company like PayPal. When it comes to online payments, every single moment of waiting can affect the user experience and, ultimately, the bottom line. So what about those astronauts? Well, NASA used Node.js to completely overhaul how they manage data for their spacesuits. They took this clunky 28-step manual process and automated it all the way down to just 7 steps. That meant much faster and easier access to absolutely critical safety data. So, with all this incredible power under the hood, how do developers actually get in there and build stuff with Node.js? Well, that's where the ecosystem comes into play. At the absolute heart of the Node.js world is NPM, the Node Package Manager. And it is, pretty literally, the largest software library in the entire world. Think of it as a gigantic free warehouse of reusable code that can do almost anything you can imagine. And when I say it's massive, I really mean it. Just take a look at this one popular package for handling passwords. It gets downloaded almost 1.5 million times every single week. NPM is what allows developers to build amazing things so quickly because they get to stand on the shoulders of giants. And then, on top of that giant ecosystem, developers use these clean, simple frameworks like Express.js. It gives you a really simple but powerful layer to build on, making it possible to spin up a web server with just a few lines of code. So from its humble beginnings inside a web browser, to powering global e-commerce, and even helping to keep astronauts safe, the JavaScript everywhere idea has totally reshaped technology. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What world is it going to conquer next?